I can offer you the truth." Without warning, a new transmission began broadcasting, not just to the Council, but across every connected channel throughout the capital and the surrounding fleet. Screens across the region flickered, then displayed the same holographic recording Marlowe had shown Commander Sella days earlier. The shattered alien world, the shadowy, massive creatures moving across its surface, the devastating pattern of destruction left behind. Panic rippled through the watching crowds as the recording played, but Marlowe's voice continued over the images, calm and steady, cutting through the fear. 300 years ago, your galaxy lost track of us and assumed we were destroyed. During those years, alone in deep space, we discovered something far greater than ourselves. An ancient civilization, dying, hunted by a force this galaxy has never encountered. Before they were completely wiped out, they gave us everything they had left. Their knowledge, their technology, their warning. The recording continued, showing brief flashes of advanced alien technology, research notes, and finally, calculations predicting the approach of this unknown threat toward the more populated regions of the galaxy. "This is not a trick," Marlowe continued. "This is not a threat against you. This is the reason we built what we built. Not to conquer, not to dominate, but to survive, and to help this galaxy survive as well, if you will allow us." Silence spread across every ship in the fleet as the recording ended. Counselor Threx stared at his screen, his earlier certainty shaken. Around him, other military leaders exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of what they had just witnessed sinking in. High Counselor Vey stood slowly, her expression solemn as she addressed the entire fleet. "We have spent centuries believing we understood every corner of this galaxy," she said. "Today, humanity has shown us how limited that understanding truly was." She turned toward the image of the horizon, still steady, still calm, waiting patiently at the center of the massive fleet surrounding it. "Lower weapons," she ordered firmly. "All ships, stand down." For a tense moment, no one moved. Then, one by one, the warships surrounding the horizon began powering down their weapon systems, the tension in the air slowly beginning to ease. Aboard the Horizon, Captain Marlowe finally allowed himself a small breath of relief. Beside him, Reyes offered a faint smile. "They believed us," she said quietly. "For now," Marlowe replied. "Belief is only the beginning." The Horizon was granted permission to dock directly at the capital, a historic moment broadcast live across the entire galaxy. As the massive ship settled into its designated space, crowds gathered outside, a mixture of curiosity, fear, and cautious hope filling the air. Captain Marlowe, along with a small group of representatives, including Lieutenant Reyes, stepped off the ship and onto the capital's surface for the first time. Cameras captured every movement as council leaders, including High Counselor Vey herself, walked forward to greet them personally. Vey extended a formal greeting, her expression respectful, though still cautious. "On behalf of the Galactic Council," she said, "we welcome the return of humanity." Marlowe nodded once, his expression calm but firm. "Thank you, Counselor. We look forward to working together for the benefit of everyone." As formal introductions continued, Marlowe was eventually invited to address the full council directly, an honor rarely given so quickly to any returning or newly contacted species. Standing before the gathered leaders of a dozen powerful alien races, Captain Marlowe spoke with quiet confidence, the weight of 300 years of survival evident in every word. "When we were lost," he began, "the galaxy assumed we were gone, weak, insignificant, perhaps even better forgotten." He paused, allowing his words to settle across the silent chamber. "But humanity has never been defined by its weaknesses. We are defined by our ability to endure, to adapt, and to grow stronger, even in the face of impossible odds." He glanced briefly toward Reyes, standing proudly among the human delegation, a symbol of an entire generation born and raised in the darkness of deep space yet unbroken by it. "We did not return today seeking power over this galaxy," Marlowe continued. "We returned because we discovered a truth greater than ourselves, a threat capable of ending countless lives if left unchecked. We returned because, despite everything, we still believe in protecting life wherever we find it." He looked around the chamber slowly, meeting the eyes of leaders who, just hours earlier, had been prepared to destroy his people out of fear. The galaxy believed it understood everything, Marlowe said finally. Today we ask you to open your eyes to a larger truth, one we intend to face together, if you will stand beside us. The chamber remained silent for a long moment, the weight of his words sinking deeply into every listener present. Then, slowly, High Counselor Vey rose from her seat, her expression filled with quiet respect. Humanity has proven something today that few species ever manage, she said. Strength is not always measured by power alone, but by the wisdom to use it responsibly. She turned to address the full council. I propose an alliance, a united effort to prepare this galaxy for the threat humanity has warned us about. One by one, other council leaders rose in agreement, some hesitant, others fully convinced, but all recognizing the undeniable truth presented before them. As the meeting concluded, and the political wheels of the galaxy slowly began turning toward unity and preparation, Captain Marlowe stepped outside onto a balcony overlooking the vast city stretching endlessly below. Reyes joined him quietly, standing by his side as she had so many times before aboard the ship that had been their entire world for as long as she could remember. We did it, she said softly. We're finally home. Marlowe looked out over the unfamiliar city, filled with countless species he had only read about in old records, a galaxy far different from the one humanity had left behind 300 years earlier. This isn't home, he said quietly. Not yet. Home is something we still have to build together with everyone here. He turned to face her, a faint, determined smile crossing his tired features. But for the first time in 300 years, he continued, I believe we finally have the chance to build it right. Behind them, the horizon rested peacefully at the capital's dock, no longer a ghost ship lost to time, but a symbol of resilience, sacrifice, and quiet, unshakable strength. The galaxy had once believed it understood everything. Today, it learned otherwise, and as humanity took its first careful steps back into galactic society, carrying both an ancient warning and an unbreakable spirit forged through 300 years of hardship, one truth became clear to every species watching. This was not the end of humanity's story. It was only the beginning. We are not here to decide the fate of a fairy tale, she said firmly. We are here to decide how to respond to a genuine, confirmed threat, delivered by a species that has apparently learned more about the dangers of deep space than any of us. She turned toward the main screen, where live sensor data from the horizon's position continued to update. The humans will not simply be interrogated when they arrive, Vey continued. We must offer them respect, and in return, demand full transparency. If there is truly a threat approaching this galaxy, we cannot afford division. We must act as one. Her words carried weight, but not everyone in the chamber agreed. Counselor Threx, a hardened military leader from the Doran Empire, stood sharply. Respect must be earned, Counselor Vey. This ship carries weapons beyond our understanding. If their story of some hidden threat is a lie, meant to distract us while they gather strength, we could be walking directly into a trap. And if it is true, Vey replied calmly, and we waste time doubting them instead of preparing, the cost could be far greater than any of us can imagine. The chamber fell into uneasy silence. Far from the capital aboard the horizon, Captain Marlowe stood in a quiet observation room, staring out at the vast field of stars stretching endlessly before him. Lieutenant Reyes stood beside him, her expression thoughtful. They will not believe us easily, she said softly. No, Marlowe agreed. They shouldn't. Trust is not something to be given freely. It must be built, carefully, over time. But we don't have time, Reyes said. Not if what we found out there is real. Marlowe's jaw tightened. His mind drifted back, as it often did, to the years spent deep in unexplored space, far beyond any charted stars, where the crew of the horizon had first encountered something the galaxy had never known existed. It had happened nearly 100 years into their journey. The horizon, damaged and struggling to survive, had detected a faint distress signal coming from a dying alien world, hidden deep within a dense, uncharted nebula. Against the advice of many aboard, The ship's leadership at the time had chosen to investigate. What they found changed everything. An ancient alien civilization, far older and more advanced than any race currently known in the galaxy, was collapsing. Not from war, not from disaster, but from something else entirely, something that had hunted them for generations, slowly wiping out their population world by world. The survivors of this dying civilization, weak and desperate, had welcomed the humans not as invaders, but as saviors. In exchange for help evacuating their remaining people to safety, they shared everything they had left: their knowledge, their technology, their warnings, and one final, terrifying truth. The thing that had destroyed them was still out there, patient, growing, and it was moving closer to the more populated regions of the galaxy with every passing year. Reyes broke the heavy silence beside him. "Do you think the Council will listen once we explain?" Marlowe exhaled slowly. "They will listen. Whether they believe us is another matter entirely." He turned to face her fully. "That's why the proof matters so much. Words alone will not be enough." Reyes nodded, understanding his meaning. Deep within the Horizon's most secure storage section lay artifacts and recorded data taken directly from the dying alien civilization, evidence of the very threat Marlowe intended to reveal. Proof that could either save the galaxy or, if mishandled, spark a war of panic and blame. Back on the capital, preparations continued at a frantic pace. Security forces were placed on high alert. Diplomatic teams rehearsed formal greetings, unsure if they were welcoming heroes or preparing to face a hidden enemy. Scientists worked around the clock, analyzing every scrap of data collected from the Horizon's approach, searching for any clue that might explain the ship's incredible power. Meanwhile, whispers spread quickly through the wider galaxy. News networks broadcast wild theories about the returning human ship. Some claimed the humans had discovered a way to bend time itself. Others believed they had made contact with gods beyond the stars. The truth, whatever it was, remained locked away, waiting for the moment of arrival. 2 days before the Horizon was scheduled to reach the capital, Commander Sella requested a second meeting with Captain Marlowe, hoping to gather more details before the ship's arrival. Details that might help calm the growing fear across the galaxy. This time, when she boarded the Horizon, she noticed a subtle shift in atmosphere. The crew moved with quiet purpose, preparing for something important. Soldiers stood a little straighter. Conversations in the hallways were hushed, serious. Captain Marlowe greeted her once again in the same meeting room as before, but this time he did not waste time with formalities. "You want more answers?" he said simply. "I do," Commander Sella replied. "The Council is preparing for the worst. If you can give us something concrete, something that proves your warning is real, it may prevent unnecessary panic." Marlowe considered her words carefully before nodding. He gestured toward Reyes, who activated a small holographic projector resting on the table between them. A three-dimensional image flickered to life, showing a distant, shattered alien world, its surface scarred and lifeless. Commander Sella leaned forward, studying the image closely. "This is one of the worlds we found," Marlowe explained. "One of many destroyed by the same force that eventually wiped out an entire ancient civilization." The image shifted, showing brief recorded footage, grainy and damaged from age. Shapes moved across the alien world's surface, massive, shadowy forms, difficult to see clearly, but clearly not natural. "We don't fully understand what these creatures are," Marlowe continued. "The dying civilization who gave us this data barely understood it themselves. But we know this. They are not native to any known galaxy. They arrive suddenly, consume everything in their path, and move on once a world is stripped of life and resources." Commander Sella's stomach turned as she watched the disturbing footage. "How long until they reach populated space?" Marlowe's expression darkened. "Based on the data we gathered, and the pattern of their movement over the past century, we believe they could arrive within the next 50 to 100 years. Commander Sella sat back, stunned. 50 to 100 years sounded distant, but in terms of galactic history, of preparation, of unity among divided races. It was frighteningly close. "Why has no one detected this before?" she asked. "Because," Marlowe said quietly, "the civilization that first encountered them was isolated, far beyond any current trade routes or exploration paths. By the time they realized the danger, it was already too late for them. We were simply lucky enough, or unlucky enough, to stumble upon their warning before it was lost forever." Reyes spoke up, her voice steady. "That is why we spent so many years studying their remaining technology, not for our own power, but to prepare defenses, ways to detect, resist, and if necessary, fight back against this threat." Commander Sella finally understood the full weight of what she was witnessing. The advanced weapons, the powerful shields, the mysterious energy signatures, all of it had a single purpose: survival. Not conquest, not domination. Simply the desperate hope of protecting whatever life remained once this threat finally arrived. "You built all of this," she said slowly, "to protect the galaxy that abandoned you 300 years ago." Marlowe's eyes met hers, calm and unwavering. "We didn't do it for the galaxy, Commander. We did it because it was the right thing to do. If the galaxy chooses to accept our help, that is their decision to make." Commander Sella left the meeting shaken, carrying with her a recording of the evidence Marlowe had shown, evidence that would soon change everything once presented to the Council. As her shuttle departed the horizon, she looked back one final time at the massive, scarred ship, filled with a people who had endured unimaginable hardship, only to return carrying a warning meant to save the very civilization that had left them for dead. Back aboard the horizon, Captain Marlowe watched Commander Sella's shuttle disappear into the darkness of space. Reyes stood quietly beside him once again. "Do you think they'll believe the truth once it's fully revealed?" she asked. Marlowe's gaze remained fixed on the stars ahead, calm but heavy with the weight of responsibility. "Belief," he said softly, "is not something we can control, but preparation, that is something we can offer." He turned to face the crew gathering behind him, soldiers, engineers, families, generations born and raised entirely within the walls of this single ship, carrying with them not just the survival of humanity, but the fragile hope of an entire galaxy unaware of the storm quietly approaching. 2 days, Marlowe said quietly. 2 days until we arrive." He looked back toward the vast emptiness of space stretching endlessly before them, the same emptiness that had once swallowed the horizon whole, transforming it from a broken, forgotten ship into something far greater. "And then," he continued, his voice steady with quiet determination, "the galaxy will finally learn the truth. Somewhere far ahead, hidden within the political chaos and fear building across the galactic capital, a fleet of warships waited in silence, orders unclear, tensions rising with every passing hour. Not everyone believed the humans' warning. Not everyone was ready to trust a species the galaxy had once dismissed as weak and insignificant. And as the horizon continued its steady approach, carrying with it both salvation and secrets, the galaxy was not fully prepared to accept. One final question lingered heavily in the minds of everyone watching. When humanity finally arrived, would the galaxy welcome them as saviors, or destroy them out of fear before they even had the chance to explain? The final day arrived. Across the galactic capital, every screen, every news channel, every public gathering space showed the same image. A massive human ship, scarred by 300 years of survival, moving steadily through the void toward the heart of galactic civilization. Billions of eyes across a dozen worlds watched in silence, waiting. In orbit above the capital, a fleet unlike anything assembled in centuries floated in formation. Warships from every major alien race lined up in tense, careful rows, weapon systems active, waiting for a single order that could change history forever. Commander Sella stood on the bridge of her own ship, positioned near the front of the fleet, her heart pounding as she watched the horizon approach. She had already shared everything Captain Marlowe revealed to her, the recordings, the warnings, the evidence of an ancient threat moving slowly through the darkness of unexplored space. Some believed her. Many did not, High Counselor Vey had fought hard to convince the other leaders to remain calm, to allow the humans a chance to explain themselves fully before any decisions were made. But fear was a powerful force, and not everyone in the fleet shared her patience. Aboard his flagship, Counselor Threx watched the approaching human vessel with narrowed eyes, his hand resting near the comm switch that would launch a full military strike if given the order. "They are almost within range," an officer reported. Threx said nothing, his jaw tight, his mind torn between caution and fear. On the horizon, the atmosphere was calm, but heavy with quiet determination. Captain Marlowe stood at the center of the ship's main bridge, watching the massive alien fleet grow larger on the main screen. Beside him stood Lieutenant Reyes, along with several senior officers, all trained and prepared for what was about to happen. "They're not going to fire first," Marlowe said quietly, more to reassure his crew than himself. "Not without reason." "And if they do?" one of the officers asked. Marlowe's expression remained steady. "Then we will show them exactly why that would be a mistake." The ship continued forward, unwavering, moving directly toward the center of the alien fleet, exactly as planned. Back on the capital, High Counselor Vey opened a direct communication channel to the horizon, her voice steady, despite the tension gripping the chamber around her. "Captain Marlowe," she said, "you are approaching heavily armed forces. For the safety of all involved, we ask that you power down your weapon systems and allow a formal escort into the capital." There was a brief pause before Marlowe's voice responded, calm and respectful. "Counselor Vey, we understand your caution, but I must be honest with you. We will not power down our weapons completely. Not yet. However, I promise you this. We will not fire first, under any circumstances." Counselor Threx, listening from his own ship, slammed his hand against his console. "That's not good enough. We cannot allow an unknown vessel to arrive fully armed." Vey raised a hand, silencing him through the shared channel. "Captain Marlowe, can you offer us something more? Some sign of good faith?" Another pause followed. Then Marlowe spoke again, his tone shifting slightly, carrying a quiet weight. Far from the capital, a small fleet of alien scout ships waited in open space, positioned along the horizon's path. Their orders were simple: do not attack. Observe. Make contact if possible. Learn what they could before the ship reached the capital. Leading this fleet was Commander Sella, a calm and experienced officer from the Threnni race, tall and thin, with pale blue skin and sharp golden eyes. She had fought in wars before. She had seen strange things across the stars. But nothing in her long career had prepared her for what was coming. She stood on the bridge of her ship, watching a small dot grow larger on the main screen. The horizon. "Steady," she said quietly to her crew. "We are not here to fight. We are here to understand." As the massive human ship came closer, more details became visible. Its outer hull was covered in deep scars, burn marks, and patches of repaired metal that did not match the original design. Whole sections looked rebuilt from scratch, using materials that seemed foreign, strange, unlike anything humans were known to use 300 years ago. It looked less like a ship and more like something that had survived a war and rebuilt itself piece by piece, using whatever it could find along the way. "Energy signature update," an officer called out. "Still far beyond normal levels. Weapons systems appear active but not aimed at us." Commander Sella studied the screen carefully. Active weapons, but no aggression. That was something, at least. It meant they were being careful, not hostile. Or maybe it meant they simply did not see the scout fleet as a threat at all. "Open a communication channel," she ordered. "Let's see if they answer." The officer nodded and began transmitting a standard greeting message, one used across the galaxy for first contact situations. Peaceful intentions, formal introduction, a request to speak. For a long moment there was no response. The bridge stayed silent, everyone watching the screen, waiting. Then finally a signal came back. It was faint at first, filled with static, as if the equipment sending it was old and worn from centuries of use. But slowly, the noise cleared, and a voice came through. It was calm, steady. Human. This is the horizon, the voice said. We hear you. A wave of tension moved through the bridge. After 300 years of silence, the ship was finally speaking. Commander Sella stepped forward. This is Commander Sella of the Threeny Scout Fleet. We welcome you back. We wish to speak with your leadership, if possible. There was a pause. Then the voice responded again. Send a small group. We will allow a meeting. But understand this. We come in peace. We do not wish for trouble. Commander Sella exchanged a glance with her officers. The tone was polite, but there was something firm underneath it. A quiet confidence that made her uneasy. Whoever was speaking did not sound afraid, even though logically they should have been. A single ship alone, surrounded by a fleet of unknown aliens, should have felt fear. But this voice did not. Understood, she replied. We will send a small delegation. She chose her team carefully. Herself, 2 soldiers for protection, and a young scientist named Doran, who specialized in human history and biology. If anyone could help them understand what had happened to these people, it would be him. As their shuttle approached the horizon, the true size of the ship became clear. It was enormous, easily 3 times larger than any human ship on record from before its disappearance. Somewhere out in the void, they had not just survived. They had built, expanded, grown. The shuttle docked at a large airlock near the ship's center. As the doors opened, cold air rushed out, carrying a strange metallic smell, mixed with something else, something organic. Living plants, perhaps, or something similar. Commander Sella stepped through first, her soldiers close behind her, weapons lowered but ready. Doran followed last, his eyes wide with curiosity rather than fear. Inside, the ship was unlike anything they expected. The hallways were wide and tall, built from a mix of old human metal and strange new materials that shimmered faintly under the dim lighting. Plants grew along the walls in carefully built gardens, their leaves a deep, healthy green. Somewhere in the distance, they could hear the quiet hum of machinery, steady and powerful, like the heartbeat of a massive living creature. A group of humans stood waiting for them near the entrance. Commander Sella studied them carefully. They did not look like the starving survivors she had expected. They stood tall, strong, and alert, dressed in simple but well-made clothing. Their eyes were sharp, watching every movement the visitors made. There was no fear in their expressions, only quiet, careful attention. At the front of the group stood a man who appeared to be their leader. He was older, with gray hair and a face marked by years of hardship, but his posture was straight and confident. He stepped forward and extended a hand, a gesture Commander Sella recognized from old records of human customs. Captain Ellis Marlowe, he said simply. Welcome aboard the Horizon. Commander Sella shook his hand carefully, unfamiliar with the gesture, but willing to follow the custom. Commander Sella, Threeny Scout Fleet, thank you for allowing us to visit. Captain Marlowe nodded once. Come, let's talk somewhere more comfortable. He led them through the ship, and as they walked, Commander Sella noticed more details that unsettled her. Children ran through a nearby hallway, laughing, playing some kind of game. Families sat together in open community areas, eating meals, talking quietly. Life continued here, normal and steady, despite everything this ship must have gone through. But there was something else, too. In the background, she noticed workers repairing machinery with tools she did not recognize. Weapons stored carefully along certain walls, powerful and well-maintained. Soldiers standing guard at key points throughout the ship, disciplined and alert. This was not just a ship of survivors. It was a ship of people who had built an entire society in isolation, prepared for anything. They reached a large room near the center of the ship, filled with simple furniture and a large table. Captain Marlowe gestured for them to sit. I imagine you have many questions, he said calmly. We do, Commander Sella replied. The galaxy believed the Horizon was destroyed 300 years ago. How did you survive? Captain Marlowe was quiet for a moment, his eyes distant, as if remembering something painful. When the war broke out around us, he began, we lost contact with Earth almost immediately. Our engines were damaged. Navigation systems failed. We were pushed far beyond any charted territory, deep into unknown space with no way to call for help and no way to return. He paused, glancing at the young scientist, Doran, who was listening carefully, taking mental notes. We had two choices, Marlowe continued. Die out there, slowly, as our supplies ran out, or adapt. You chose to adapt, Commander Sella said quietly. We had no other option, Marlowe replied. Over the years, we found resources, abandoned outposts, wreckage from old battles, materials nobody else wanted. We learned to build with what we found. We learned to survive with almost nothing. Doran leaned forward slightly. The technology you have now, the power levels we've detected, they go far beyond anything humans were capable of 300 years ago. How is that possible? Captain Marlowe's expression grew more serious. He glanced briefly at another human standing near the door, a young woman with sharp eyes and short dark hair, who gave a small, almost unnoticeable nod. That, Marlowe said slowly, is a longer story. One I am not ready to share just yet. Commander Sella studied him carefully. There was something he was hiding, something important, but pushing too hard, too fast, could damage the fragile trust they were building. We understand, she said instead, but the Council will want answers before you arrive at the capital. They are concerned. Marlowe's eyes hardened slightly. Concerned that we are dangerous? Concerned that they don't understand what you've become, Commander Sella replied honestly. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then Marlowe spoke again, his voice calm but firm. Tell your council this. We have not returned to cause harm. We have not returned to conquer or to fight. We are simply coming home. He paused, his eyes steady, unwavering. But we will not be treated as weak. Not anymore. The words hung heavy in the air. Commander Sella felt a chill run through her. There was no threat in his tone, no anger, just quiet, absolute certainty. Doran spoke up gently, trying to ease the tension. May we ask, what happened to the people who did not survive the journey? 300 years is a long time. Marlowe's expression softened slightly, sadness flickering across his face. We lost many, he admitted, especially in the early years. Sickness, accidents, the dangers of deep space. But those of us who remained grew stronger because of it. We had to. He gestured toward the young woman by the door. This is Lieutenant Reyes. She was born on this ship. She has never seen Earth. None of the younger generation has. Reyes stepped forward slightly, her expression calm but curious as she studied the alien visitors in front of her. For us, she said quietly, this ship is not a piece of lost history. It is our home. Everything we know, everything we are, we built here together in the dark. Commander Sella felt something shift inside her chest, a mixture of sympathy and unease. These were not simple survivors clinging to life. They were something new entirely, a people forged by hardship, isolation, and quiet determination. She thought of the fear spreading across the galactic capital, leaders preparing for an unknown threat, unsure whether to welcome the horizon or destroy it before it arrived. If they could see this, see the families, the children, the quiet strength in these people's eyes, perhaps they would understand. But she also thought of the weapons she had seen along the hallways, the advanced power readings her scanners had picked up. The secrets Captain Marlowe was clearly not ready to share. Something significant had happened out there, in the endless dark beyond charted space. Something that had changed humanity forever. As the meeting continued, Commander Sella asked more questions, carefully, respectfully. Captain Marlowe answered what he could, but always stopped short of revealing the full truth behind their incredible technology. Finally, as their conversation drew toward an end, Commander Sella asked one last question, the one weighing heaviest on her mind. Captain Marlowe, why now? After 300 years hidden in deep space, why return now? Captain Marlowe's gaze grew distant for a moment, as if looking far beyond the walls of the room, beyond the ship itself. into memories only he and his people carried. Because, he said slowly, we finally have something the galaxy needs to know. Commander Sella felt her pulse quicken. What is that? Captain Marlowe looked directly into her eyes, his expression calm, but carrying the weight of something enormous. The galaxy believes it understands the universe, he said quietly. It does not. He paused, letting his words settle into the silence of the room. We found something out there in the deep dark beyond charted space, something the galaxy has feared without even knowing it existed. And it is coming. The room went cold. Commander Sella's heart pounded in her chest. What did you find? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Captain Marlowe's eyes remained steady, unblinking, as he delivered his final words for the day. That, he said, is a story for when we reach the capital. The horizon continued its slow, steady journey toward the galactic capital, and with every passing hour, tension across the galaxy grew thicker. Commander Sella's report reached the Council within minutes of her shuttle returning to the fleet. She had recorded everything: the calm strength of the humans, the strange technology, the unfinished warning Captain Marlowe had given about something dangerous, hidden deep in unexplored space. The Council chamber, usually a place of slow debate and careful diplomacy, erupted into chaos. Representatives from a dozen alien races argued over what to do. Some believed the humans were lying, using fear as a tool to gain protection or resources. Others believed the warning was real, and that ignoring it could be catastrophic. A few, quiet and cautious, simply wanted the horizon destroyed before it ever reached the capital, unwilling to take any risks with an unknown threat. At the center of the chamber stood High Counselor Amara Vey, an elder of the Cytherian race, respected across the galaxy for her wisdom and calm leadership during past crises. She listened to the arguments swirling around her, her expression unreadable, until finally she raised a hand for silence. The room quieted immediately. For 300 years, the galaxy believed humanity was gone. They were wrong. Far beyond the edge of known space, in the cold silence between stars, an old listening station floated alone. It was called Watchtower 9. Its job was simple: listen to the stars. Report anything strange. For 300 years, it had reported nothing important. Tonight was different. Inside the station, a small alien named Vex sat in front of a wall of blinking lights. Vex was not important. He was young, tired, and bored. His job was to watch numbers on a screen and make sure nothing went wrong. Nothing ever went wrong. That is what made tonight strange. A soft beep came from his console, then another, then 5 more, one after another, fast and sharp. Vex sat up straight. He had never heard that sound before. He looked at the screen. A red light was blinking. Under the light, in small letters, it said, "Unknown signal detected." Vex frowned. Unknown signals were rare but not impossible. Space was full of noise. Old satellites, dead ships, broken stars. Most signals meant nothing. But this one was different. This one had a pattern. Vex leaned closer to the screen. The pattern repeated every few seconds. It was not random noise, it was a code. Someone somewhere was sending a message on purpose. He pulled up the signal's history. The system searched through thousands of years of records, trying to match the pattern to something known. It took only a few seconds, but to Vex it felt much longer. Then the answer appeared. Match found. Earth Fleet Identification Code. Origin: human colony ship. Horizon: status: lost. Presumed destroyed. Last contact: 312 years ago. Vex stared at the screen. His hands were shaking. "That's not possible," he whispered. He read the words again, slowly this time, as if reading slower would change what they said. But the words stayed the same. The horizon. A human ship. Lost for over 300 years. And now somehow it was calling out into the dark. Vex knew he had to report this immediately. His hand moved toward the alert button, but he stopped for a moment. He thought about what this meant. Everyone knew the story of the horizon, even if most people thought it was just an old legend. Humans were not new to the galaxy. Long ago, They had built ships and sent them out to explore, just like every other race. But humans were different in one way. They were young, very young. When they first appeared among the stars, other races laughed at them. Humans had no advanced technology, no powerful weapons, no allies. They were small, fragile, and slow. The galaxy did not take them seriously. Then came the war. A war between three powerful alien empires fighting over territory near human space. Humanity was caught in the middle, too weak to fight, too stubborn to run. During the chaos, one of their colony ships, the Horizon, carrying thousands of settlers, disappeared without a trace. Search parties looked for years. They found nothing. No wreckage, no signal, no survivors. Eventually, everyone accepted the truth. The Horizon was gone, destroyed by the war, lost forever in the dark of space. Humanity mourned. The galaxy moved on. Over time, people stopped talking about the Horizon at all. It became a sad old story, the kind parents told their children as a warning about the dangers of deep space. And now, 300 years later, it was calling home. Vex pressed the alert button. Within minutes, the station was full of noise. Alarms rang through every hallway. Officers rushed into the control room, shouting questions, demanding answers. Vex tried to explain what he had found, but no one listened to him at first. They were too busy checking the data themselves, hoping it was a mistake. It was not a mistake. The signal was real. The code matched perfectly. Somewhere out in the black, a ship that everyone believed was dead was sending a message across the stars. The station commander, an older alien named Director Cray, stood in front of the main screen with his arms crossed. He had seen many strange things in his long career, but nothing like this. "Confirm the signal's location," he said, his voice sharp. A technician typed quickly. A new map appeared on the screen, showing a single blinking dot moving slowly through empty space. "Sir," the technician said, "the signal is not just a message. It's coming from something moving, something big." Director Cray's eyes narrowed. "Show me." The screen zoomed in. At first, there was only darkness. Then slowly an object came into view. It was massive, far larger than any modern exploration ship. Its metal surface was scarred and worn, covered in the marks of countless years spent drifting through the void. Some parts of the hull looked burned. Others looked repaired, patched together with materials that did not match the original design. But it was moving. Steadily. On purpose. Not drifting like a dead ship would. Someone was flying it. The room went silent. "That's the Horizon," Vex said quietly, almost forgetting to speak louder than a whisper. "It's really the Horizon." Director Cray stepped closer to the screen, studying the image carefully. 300 years, he muttered. How does a ship survive 300 years alone in deep space? Nobody had an answer. He turned to his crew. "I want full sensor scans, life signs, energy readings, everything. I want to know what's on that ship before we send anyone near it." The crew moved quickly, running scan after scan. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the results appeared on the screen, and what they showed made everyone in the room go still. Life signs detected. Thousands of them. The ship was not empty. It was not a ghost ship, drifting with the bodies of the dead. People were alive on board. After 300 years trapped in the emptiness of space, humans had survived. But that was not the strangest part. The energy readings coming from the ship were unlike anything the station had ever recorded. Power levels far beyond what a ship of that age should have been capable of producing. Weapons signatures that did not match any known human technology. Shielding systems stronger than most modern warships. Director Cray read the numbers twice just to be sure his eyes were not tricking him. "This can't be right," he said. "This ship left human space 300 years ago with basic technology. Weak engines. No advanced weapons. This should not be possible." Vex spoke up again, his voice trembling. "Sir, whatever happened to that ship? Whatever happened to those people? They didn't just survive out there." He paused, looking at the screen, at the massive vessel drifting steadily through the stars, alive after everyone had given up on it. They changed. Director Cray did not respond right away. He stared at the image of the horizon. This ship that should not exist, filled with people who should have died long ago, carrying power that should not be possible. Something about it made his skin crawl. Not because it felt dangerous, though it might be, but because it felt wrong. Like a piece of the past had come back changed into something the galaxy did not understand. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," he finally said. "Tell them the horizon has returned. Tell them it is not what we expected." A young officer hesitated before speaking. "Sir, should we intercept it? Try to stop it before it reaches populated space?" Director Cray shook his head slowly. "No, not yet. We don't know what we're dealing with. If that ship really has weapons stronger than anything we understand, attacking it first could be a mistake, a very costly mistake." He turned back to the screen, watching the dot move steadily forward, unstoppable, patient, calm. "Where is it heading?" he asked. The technician checked the ship's trajectory, running the numbers through the navigation system. When the answer appeared, the room grew even quieter than before. "Sir," the technician said slowly, "its current path leads directly toward the galactic capital." The galactic capital. Home to the Council. Home to the most powerful alien races in the known galaxy. The center of politics, trade, and power for thousands of years. And now, a lost human ship, filled with unknown technology and unknown intentions, was heading straight for it. Director Cray felt a cold weight settle in his chest. Whatever this ship was bringing with it, whatever secrets its people carried after 300 years alone in the dark, it was about to arrive at the very heart of the galaxy. There would be no stopping it now, not without risking a war nobody was ready for. He picked up the comm and spoke directly to the Council, his voice steady despite the fear building inside him. "This is Director Cray, Watchtower 9. We have confirmed the return of the human ship Horizon, lost for over 300 years. The ship carries thousands of survivors and displays technology far beyond anything previously seen from human sources." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "Current trajectory shows the vessel is heading directly for the galactic capital. Estimated arrival, 6 days." There was silence on the other end of the line, the kind of silence that came from powerful people trying to understand something too big to accept all at once. Finally, a voice responded, calm but tense. "Do we know their intentions?" Director Cray looked back at the screen, at the great scarred ship moving steadily through the stars, carrying secrets the galaxy was not ready for. "No," he said quietly. "We don't know anything about them anymore." He watched the signal blink, over and over, that same strange code repeating into the void, a message from a people the galaxy had forgotten, a people who had once been small, weak, and easy to ignore. Somewhere on that ship, humans who had spent their entire lives in the darkness of deep space were finally coming home. And whatever they had become during those 300 years, whatever they had learned, whatever they had built, the galaxy was about to find out. For the first time in centuries, Director Cray felt something he had not felt in a very long time. Fear of the unknown. Because somewhere out there, drifting steadily toward the heart of the galaxy, a ship the galaxy thought was gone forever was returning. And it was not returning the same as it had left. It was returning as something new, something powerful, something the galaxy did not understand. And in 6 days, everyone would find out exactly what humanity had become. 6 days felt like 6 years. Across the galaxy, news of the horizon spread fast. Every alien race with access to deep space communication had heard the story by now. A lost human ship, missing for 300 years, was returning, and it was not returning weak. On the galactic capital, panic moved quietly through government halls. Leaders whispered in private rooms. Military commanders studied old records of humanity, trying to remember a species most of them had stopped thinking about long ago. Scientists argued over the strange energy readings coming from the horizon, unable to explain how a ship with such old technology could now carry power beyond anything they understood. Nobody knew what to expect. Nobody knew what humans had become.